Bring her home. Brittney Griner supporters not giving up on fighting for the WNBA star's freedom. Those chants coming after news broke of Griner's 9-year sentence in Russia, which she will serve in a penal colony. All because the Russians found trace amounts of cannabis oil in her luggage at the Moscow airport. While Griner's sentence is severe, hope is not lost. We know the Biden White House is working to get Griner and American Paul Whelan back home, most likely through a prisoner swap. Whelan has been in a Russian prison for 2 years after a bogus conviction for spying. As it stands now, Russia wants the U.S. to swap them for a dangerous arms dealer named Victor Bout. Judith Browne Dianis is back with us and joining my panel, MSNBC legal analyst Charles Coleman Jr. He is a civil rights attorney and a former Brooklyn prosecutor. Charles, Brittney Griner's lawyers plan to file an appeal. In Russia, due process, not really a thing. Is a prisoner swap the only hope of getting her out?
The same types of liberties and freedoms afforded to defendants around due process in a country like Russia. And so the notion that even though she was made to sign documents at the airport that were not explained to her and that weren't given to her in her native language, even by Russia's own standards, those procedures weren't followed. But at the end of the day, it may not count for very much because under Russian law, we are not guaranteed the same types of rights to appeal and to due process as we are here. And so the prisoner swap most likely seems like her best and strongest route to being able to be released early before her 9-year sentence, which of course is exorbitant, has to be served.
I mean, Judith, there was something of a split screen this week. The Justice Department brought charges against 4 officers involved in Breonna Taylor's death. On the same day, Brittney Griner was sentenced to prison in Russia. Ibram Kendi, director of the Center for Anti-Racist Research, recently tweeted, quote, "Russia's sentencing of Brittney Griner to 9 years and the federal charges for the 4 officers involved in Breonna Taylor's death has me thinking about what is too often denied to Black women, life and freedom." What do you see as the connection between these two stories?
Well, first, I mean, the fact that we have that picture of Brittney Griner fighting for Breonna Taylor. She was one of the people who was on the front lines of the WNBA, calling for justice for Breonna Taylor, and to now know that we have to call for justice for Brittney Griner, and that Black women, that's why we have this campaign that's called Say Her Name, because Black women are often forgotten in the discussions about injustices by the criminal legal system. And so it is unfortunate, and at the same time, for Breonna Taylor, we know that this was not all the justice that is due, that the Attorney General saying that Breonna Taylor should be alive was an important statement, and at the same time having some bit of justice for her family, her mother, hearing her mother say how moved she was by the actions of DOJ is important.
You know, Charles, the charges against the 4 officers connected to Breonna Taylor's death include civil rights violations, unlawful conspiracies, unconstitutional use of force, and obstruction of offenses. What do these charges mean for those 4 officers?
Well, essentially, they mean that these officers in various forms and stages conspired to essentially deny Breonna Taylor of her constitutional and civil rights. They conspired to lie. They conspired to cover up the lie. They made knowingly false statements, all of which were in violation of Breonna Taylor's civil rights. But I want to make a larger point. I just recently wrote a piece on this for Slate, and I think that when we're having this conversation about these officers and their responsibility, it needs to be expanded. I think Breonna Taylor is a symbol, and she's such an important example of what happens when police break their contract with community. Not only do police lies actually kill people, but this is fundamentally a disruption and undermining an actual rift and expose a fault line in democracy. If you consider that police receive a level of discretion and in exchange for what it is to appear to keep us safe, and that discretion actually allows them to enact violence up to and including the loss of human life, when they violate that by not being truthful, when they violate that by not being transparency, it not only has the potential, as it did in Breonna's case, unfortunately, to take human life, it actually threatens the very core of a functioning democracy. And that's something that we need to understand and take seriously, or Breonna's death and so many others will be in vain.
Yeah, Judith, your thoughts on these charges?
Yeah, I think Charles is exactly right, that this was really just showing us how officers often lie, and it has deadly consequences. So, Alicia, we, Advancement Project, put out a video series called How Cops Get Off, because we wanted to explain to people that this is policing culture. We cannot legislate this away. But Laquan McDonald, for example, they lied about what happened when Laquan McDonald was murdered by the police. Now we see them lying not only in the beginning part to get the warrant, but then afterwards to cover it up. And that's the blue wall of silence. And so we've got to be digging deeper and not playing around the edges with reform around police. But it is a culture that is problematic, and our communities cannot trust the police if they are going to lie in order to get an arrest and a conviction that can lead to Black death.
I want to ask you both the same question, and Charles, I'm going to start with you, which is when we go back to the fact that, we had developments in these two stories in the same week with Brittney Griner. There's an additional piece here, which is the social pressure around this, right? We saw in the wake of Breonna Taylor's death, protests across this country. We have seen so much organizing in the name of Brittney Griner, particularly from Black women. How does that need to be elevated, right? What is the next step in that movement in order to really make sure that she is brought home safely?
Well, I think that, number one, the first thing that has to happen is that there has to be an extension of the fact that this is a human issue, and the fact that Brittney Griner can no longer be considered just to be a Black woman or a Black woman who is gay. If that's not important to you, you cannot call yourself an ally. If the fact that you want to classify or limit this to being an issue that only affects Brittney Griner because she identifies as gay and happens to be a Black woman, then you're part of the problem. I think that on a deeper level, it's also important for us to really understand that, unfortunately, the conundrum of America standing in this space and yelling moral outrage, given its own disproportionate treatment of different communities and people within them with this justice system, puts itself in a very precarious position. And I wish that we had better advocates for Brittney Griner on a global and geopolitical stage. Unfortunately, this is the hand that we're dealt, and we have to be honest about that. But we have to acknowledge that America itself, in its own backyard, continues to face its own levels of violation with disproportionate treatment and sentencing around marginalized and underrepresented communities. And that's something that has to be addressed as well. So as we are having the conversation about Brittney Griner, we have to be willing, able, and ready to have a conversation about what it is that we can do to advance justice and the cause of justice right here in America.
Judith, I've got about 30 seconds left. Your final thoughts.
Yes, well, Black women are organizing to support Brittney, but we're also organizing to support all the Britneys. That's why the T-shirts, We Are BG, because we know that our lives are in danger at the hands of the police and at the hands of government. And so we got to keep fighting and, bring her home, but also fight for all the other Black women who are in cages.
And we're going to talk to one of the women who's doing that organizing in the next hour. Judith, Charles, thank you both so much. We're continuing to watch the U.S. Senate floor, where we are expecting the vote-a-rama on amendments to the Inflation Reduction Act. That could happen